Hey there, Seahawks. It's Miss Adams, and in this video, we're going to learn what affects the margin of error. All right, so how do we interpret a confidence level? To interpret the confidence level, C, we would say if we were to select many random samples from a population and construct C% confidence intervals using the sample or using each sample, about C% of the intervals would capture the whatever your parameter is in context. So the true mean or the true proportion of blah, blah, blah. All right, it's important to note we want to make sure to not interpret the confidence interval when you're asked to interpret the confidence level and vice versa. So there's different statements you would make if you're asked to interpret the confidence interval or if you're asked to interpret the confidence level. Okay, so there's some stock sentences you're going to want to have ready. The confidence level does not tell us the probability that a particular confidence interval captures the population proportion. All right, so we're going to take an example of interpreting the confidence level. In a recent year, a sample of South American red-eye piranha was collected by fishermen on a particular river. Wildlife biologists are willing to regard this sample as a random sample of all red-eye piranha in this river. The mean length of the 60 fish in the sample was 12.88 centimeters, and a 99% confidence interval for the true mean length of red-eye piranha in the river is 12.09 centimeters to 13.67 centimeters. Interpret the confidence level. So, the confidence level would be if the fishermen and wildlife biologists took many random samples of red-eye piranha and constructed a 99% confidence interval using each sample, about 99% of these intervals would capture the true mean length of red-eye piranha in the river. So what that means is if I took many samples from my group and I constructed a 99% confidence interval for each of those different samples, okay, 99% of the intervals would capture the true mean length of red-eye piranha. All right, so if you look at the visual here, this was several 95% confidence intervals. So you can see that horizontal line, that some of them are a little different. So I took different samples of size 20 from a population, and I constructed a confidence interval, a 95% confidence interval. And I did that many times. And you can see that most of them capture that green line, that vertical green line going through, which is the true mean, except for one that's in red doesn't include that green line at all. Okay, so what a 95% confidence interval would mean 95% of my intervals capture the true mean or true value that you're trying to estimate. Okay. If I want to decrease the margin of error, the confidence level can decrease. So to obtain a smaller margin of error from the data, you must be willing to accept a smaller capture rate. And the sample size increases. If the sample size increases, that's going to decrease the margin of error with a fixed confidence level. It's important to note that the margin of error does not account for any source of bias in the data collection process. So the margin of error accounts for sampling variability because you're going to have variation in your sample. So you can see in that picture how I constructed 95% confidence intervals from samples of size 20, but each interval is a little bit different. Okay, that's sampling variability because each sample of size 20 is going to be a little bit different. Like you're not always going to get the same people in your sample. But you can't fix, by including a margin of error, you can't fix biased sampling or data collection. All right, changing the sample size and the confidence level. From the random sample of 60 red-eye piranha and 99% confidence interval for the true mean length of red-eye piranha in the river was calculated to be 12.09 centimeters to 13.67 centimeters. Explain what would happen to the width of the interval if the confidence level was decreased to 95%. All right, so if I decrease the confidence level, the confidence interval would be narrower because decreasing the confidence level decreases the margin of error. So remember that with a confidence interval, we have our point estimate or our statistic in the center, and then we have add or subtract a margin of error. Okay, if I'm 99% confident, it's going to be wider than if I'm only 95% confident or 90% confident. Okay, so the less confident I am, the narrower my interval, the more confident, the wider my interval. Explain what would happen to the width of the original interval if the sample size were decreased to 30 fish. So this would make the interval wider. The confidence interval would be wider because decreasing the sample size increases the margin of error. Okay. Bias and the margin of error. A town council is considering a proposal to build a large department store within the town borders. A local resident against the proposal conducted a survey of residents. She selected a random sample of residents and asked, "Are you in favor of the new department store in the town, which would create traffic delays? Please answer yes or no." Of the 240 residents surveyed, 211 residents responded no. Based on this sample, the residents claim that she was 95% confident that the interval from 0.84 to 0.92 captures the true proportion of residents who are against building the new store. So, why did the president include the margin of error with her estimate instead of just the 211 out of 240? So, she included the margin of error to account for sampling variability. So, the fact that different samples of the same size from the same population will give different estimates. Describe one potential source of bias in the survey not accounted for by the margin of error. So the margin of error kind of gives you that plus or minus to account for sampling variability, but it can't undo the bias in the data collection. So hopefully you're able to recognize that the wording of the question is unfair. It's not clear if the residents responded no because they're against the store or if they were against the traffic delays. Also, adding in that negative bit of information in the way the question was worded could influence people to vote no. All right, go Seahawks.